Hello everyone, back again with another build. This time, this is by no means a new build. A lot of different people have tried taking a crack at it. I like it from the point of view that it's a bit challenging to work around the weapon properties with the wakizashi. Some people call it the immortal Ronin, some people call it the immortal samurai. I'm gonna go ahead and call it the Ghost of Yotei because the character I'm building it on is called Atsu and female character. Now, as always, the most important point of any build is fashion. You have to look the part. And I think this build kind of actually 9 out of 10. I changed the helmet, but I couldn't find anything better than that. There were some mesh options, but they didn't look too good. Anyhow, let's get to the actual build, get a little bit of explanation, and talk about why I've picked what I have picked, and we'll give it a try in the Crucible and see how it goes. So for your weapon, obviously you go with the Wind of Death, and you cannot really change anything as far as the runes go. I'm not too happy with the runes that it comes with. Plague Swirl has a very long animation that it will lock you in. I'm not sure if it's going to be really helpful against the Echo Knight, but we'll give it a try. We've infused it with electric damage, uh, and you'll see later why, because part of the reason, one of the things that's important with this build is to get a little bit of movement speed, especially since we're at normal weight limit. You can do this build at light limit too. Like I said, if you just look it up, you can find different variations of it. This is my take on it, and we'll go ahead and look at the bow. For the bow, this is basically a stat stick. We're not really going to be using it. You just want to infuse it with lifesteal. That's the first thing you need. And then, as you will see throughout build, two things we're going to be focusing on. We're focusing on healing, and we're also focusing on reducing damage at low health, because we're always going to be consistently at low health. Um, so for the affixes here, we have damage increased based on durability. Then we have dodge stamina cost decrease at low health. We have healing that goes up by about 20% depending on the durability, which is going to be at max. For your headgear, you want to get your shock build up going as soon as possible. So you'll slot it with the topaz, and then damage taken decreased up to 10% based on durability. We'll get the electric damage increase because that's our elemental infusion. You get focus and focus gain based on any build up, and then you have healing increase based on durability. You want to have most of these. You could probably get away with going with the usual irreparable and unrepairable indestructible combo. But I think you really, with this build, you want to squeeze as much as possible out of your affixes. So, and then you can also see later on that some of these downsides actually work really well with the build. And if we go here for the chest piece, you have increased healing, you have damage taken decreased at low health again, you have overall speed build up, and then you have stamina recovery, which is really important because you want to have your dodge and your attacks up at all times because you need to be constantly attacking in order to get your health. Uh, I have unrepairable here, but I kind of ran out of embers. I would change that because that's not really viable. You could, I was debating on putting uh, max health reduction in order to get myself near that 50% health limit. But then I realized that because I tried this before and I was having a hard time with managing my health. And then I realized that even if I do put max health reduction and if I exalt it in order to get the exalted chest piece, it's going to be at 51%, so it's not going to be up all the time. Therefore, I decided that that extra 14% is probably not going to matter because you're bound to take one or two hits anyway, and that will really quickly bump you down to that 50% threshold, so you get all the bonuses out. For your gloves, you want to go with stamina recovery again, which gives you the highest percentage when it's slotted on the gloves. Again, you go damage taken decrease, healing increase, shock buildup, stamina recovery. And here is where I opted to go for max health reduction of 14%. For your pants, you want to go stamina cost decrease. You want to go again for damage taken decrease. You you go for dodge stamina reduction, focus gain, and healing. And for your downside, you can go for drain health in combat, which does two things. A, it drains your health a little bit so you get close to that 50% threshold if you're not being immediately attacked. And for your rings, you want to go with Stone Tusk Ring, usually cornerstone of most of the builds that I do because it's just so helpful. And then you want to go for Plagued Ring so you can get maximum life steal out of it. And then you use the downside in order to put you close to that threshold that you want. Your third ring is optional. It depends on how you distribute your points. The way I've distributed my points, I use this in order to have enough focus to use all the attacks on my main weapon. If you opt to change distribute your points differently, if you want to go a little bit less in health, a little bit less in stamina, and then, or if you're going with lighter set of armor, you have the option of going with the Willow Ring and gives you a little bit of more movement speed. That's it for the build. As far as the components of the build goes, um, let's go take a look at it and see how it performs in the Crucible. I've never tried it in Crucible. I tried it in the plagued areas before when I was sort of playtesting it. We'll see how it fares in the Crucible Run. Again, I'm not really used to the rune setups on this particular sword, but I'll try my best. Okay, I didn't expect that much damage. Okay, that's kind of busted. You know, there's usually nothing good in here, but I can't ever resist the urge to just come and see what's in it. And there, it's usually garbage in here. I think there's one recipe that I'm missing, and I'm hopeful that I somehow find it in one of these chests, and it just never happens. What I do like about this weapon is that it has a lot of mobility. The first attack is kind of delayed, but look how much distance you close. Oh, there's a guy? There. That's a lot of distance to close on an auto attack. Honestly, I don't feel like I need to parry with this build anymore. The focus generation is so high. Take some echoes. Another thing you want to keep in mind with this build is you want to have a decent amount of poise with your build, whatever setup you choose to go with, because getting knocked down and not being able to auto attack with while having such a small health pool is kind of dangerous. It's also part of the reason why I decided to go with the plate chest piece instead of... Yeah, this is what you don't want. Ooh, somehow I got out of it. Yeah, I'm not too crazy about the rune attacks on this, except for Twirl Dash. The rest are just kind of underwhelming. I wish you could change. I really wish you could change the rune attacks on these legendary weapons. That would actually make them a lot more viable. But it is what it is. I mean, even being able to change your the layout of your runes would be great. Yeah, I'm not too sure about this attack. I guess it's good to knock down multiple enemies, but it doesn't seem to do a lot of damage. The delay on your first auto attack is a little tricky to get used to, I'll say that right now, especially if you're used to other straight swords. But once you get kind of used to it. It's interesting, to say the least. I think you just have to get it in your head that there's a shorter distance that you need to walk or run to in order to get to your target. It's a bit of a spacing thing. So as soon as you get that spacing done, then the weapon starts to feel a lot better. Before that, it's kind of clunky. Okay, here comes the test. See how it does against the Echo Knight. This is see how I do against it. I mean, it's decent. I wouldn't say it's anything special, but I guess this is the build. Hopefully you guys like the build if you want to try it out. If there's anything you think I'm doing wrong with the build, like I said, this is kind of a build in progress for me. If you have any suggestions about the build, I'd love to hear it. I don't think the build is completely finished, but I kind of like it. It's not my favorite build. I have another build coming up soon, which is a little bit more exciting than this, especially since that one, I guess, hasn't been done before. But anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this video. This was the build. I call it Ghost of Yotei. Other people call it Immortal Samurai. But again, style point, I think we're on point. There's definitely things that can change, make it better, give it more damage. I understand that. So if you see anything that could immediately improve the build, do let me know, and maybe we'll do a follow-up on it. Because again, this is a build in progress. Have a great day, and see you later.